generations. And now, the power of two restores the one.
We got a bidet! Hey everybody, and welcome back to our channel, Dyad in the Rough. Today we are talking about what happened this month in Star Wars, and in my opinion, it's kind of low as far as the amount of news. Most of the stuff this month has been this and that about the Acolyte, and then, a couple of other things along the way. So let's just get the Acolyte out of the way, and then we can talk about some of the other cool things that were talked about for the month. So, The Acolyte, it came out. We got the 2 episode premiere in the beginning, and then we've gotten episode 3, episode 4, and now episode 5 for this week. So I think we have 3 more after this. And before episode 5 dropped, because I haven't seen any of the much of the buzz about what happened with episode 5, a lot of 1 through 4 was very, very negative. And so it's interesting to see, how people are responding to it, and also how the people that are behind the show, so like Kathleen Kennedy and Leslie, whatever her last name is, the director, and some of the actors and actresses, to see how they're coming out and almost combating some of the people that just say they don't like the show. And it's ridiculous, honestly. I am shocked to see what Disney is doing nowadays, well, Lucasfilm in particular, especially since, they cut down Gina Carano for having some free speech, and then now we're here and they're literally attacking their fans. What do you think?
I have not seen the attacking that you're talking about or like any of the back and forth since the show's come out. Um,
Are you talking about from Lucasfilm's point of view?
yes, or from the actual film, not film, but show creators or like anything. I'm not super well informed on the matter. I've watched the show. I've been keeping up to date on the show, just not necessarily like what's been talked about in the media about the show. I've more just kind of kept my own opinions and then our discussions in our little weekly videos that we do with Austin. Um, but just to kind of put it in a nutshell on my perspective of all this, it was so highly talked about for so long. They prolonged the launch of this by like a year or something. I don't know how long. It was just a very long time. I remember them talking about this of the last Star Wars celebration, which was, what was that, last year or the year before?
I think it was I think it was last year. Because I don't think there is one this year. I think the next one is next year. I could be wrong.
Right. That sounds right to me. But like they were talking about it in a way that it seemed like it was done and ready, and we were all just waiting in anticipation and thought it was going to be amazing. And I feel like we've done this to ourselves over and over and over, where we hype things up so much that if it's not absolutely perfect, it's going to be a letdown. Um, am I saying that the show's great and we're all just being whiny babies? No. But I definitely think that has something to do with kind of the response that this show's been getting is, they made it seem like it was going to be the greatest thing ever, and it's really just kind of not.
Yeah, and what's interesting to me is a lot of the gripe. So people say they don't like it, right? They don't like what they are seeing in the show. They don't like how the continuity isn't there. are upset that the lore isn't being paid attention to. And so lots of these fans are coming out and saying to Lucasfilm, like, hey, we're disappointed because you don't care. And Lucasfilm, mostly between Kathleen Kennedy and Leslie, the director, they're like twisting it and saying that it's because of people. Well, and also Amandla, the girl that plays May and OSHA, they're all like just twisting things and saying that it's misogyny, it's racism, it's all these different things. And the big one that Kathleen Kennedy said is like the women can't enjoy Star Wars because the fandom is dominated by men and men are being toxic about this show. And it's just insane to hear these things. Um, so I think with all those things that are coming out, this show is just clouded with so much around it. You can't even really talk about the show because as soon as you show that, you slightly dislike it, all the isms start flying. And so I just, it's sad to say that things have gotten this far. I do know the Star Wars community is incredibly passionate about Star Wars. I mean, that's kind of like a no-brainer, but if we look back to when EA tried to put microtransactions in Battlefront 2 and the Star Wars community fought back and then EA backed off and took it out of their game. And I don't think EA has put microtransactions in any new Star Wars games since then. Like they've done it in Galaxy of Heroes, but they had that for a long time. And that's a free mobile game. So have at it with your transactions on that. But the point is that when Star Wars fans see something that they don't like, or they feel like, companies are just trying to push something, they will push back and they will push back very hard. And the problem is that Lucasfilm isn't really giving in on this. And so it's really started to turn into like throwing uh, words at each other. Not so nice words.
So I guess there's a couple things here, right? Is one, I feel like as a woman, it's kind of my job to be the balance of the voice of what you're talking about. I personally don't see not liking this show as being like a sexism thing. I feel like if the show were directed or created by a man, it wouldn't really be perceived any differently unless the story was different. And the story being different, to me, it has nothing to do with the gender of the person creating it. It's the story, right? It's the lore of Star Wars. And no matter what gender you are, you should be able to enjoy it. It doesn't I feel like that's just creating a divide when there shouldn't necessarily be one. Um, we've seen very strong female characters before, with Leia and Rey, and I don't want to go down that huge long rabbit hole of getting it all into that, but just kind of wanting to wrap that all into, I don't think that that's what the issue is with this show. I think it has a lot of struggles more with dialogue and the writing and the weird cuts and the really short episodes. Those are kind of more the issues for me. And those have nothing to do with who's in the show. That has to do with how it's written and why they chose to cut episodes with really weird transition points. Um, the second part that I wanted to mention, based on what you said, is I kind of wonder if the super large budget for this show is why they're being super defensive about it and having to, talk to their board or their shareholders or whoever's in charge of making sure that this is a success. They're going to do whatever they can to protect and show that they made something successful. So if the audience isn't reacting very greatly to it, I feel like it's almost kind of their job to say like, well, it's not our fault and find something else to put the blame on. Because otherwise they're not going to get the funding for their next project.
Maybe they should watch the movie Rocky Balboa and how he talks about how putting the blame on others and how all that transpires. But yeah, I mean, one of the things I find interesting, kind of going back to your first point, is when the show first started, and I started first seeing the back and forths online, and they were talking about, oh, people don't like this show because there's no white men in this show. It's all women and it's all diverse. And I thought to myself, like, I didn't even notice that when we first watched the show. Like, I don't get it how like that's even where people go to for these things. Like that's what they look for to start making these arguments. Um, I just and it's not even the thing where people say, "Oh, you're saying you're being colorblind and that's racist." That's not what we're getting at. What I'm getting at is I saw the characters as Star Wars characters, and that's what it was. And
Well,
I
in
did
a universe where so many of them are alien species, you
right.
know, and some of those are even the best ones. I mean, Basil, he's great.
hmm And I don't think Jackie is not necessarily a I don't know if Jackie is a human. I think there might be some
She's,
sort of race in there somehow,
she's
but like,
probably a humanoid, is my guess. Like mostly human with a little bit of something else in her because she's got the horns.
yeah. So like we see even like the alien species there, and I thought Jackie's character was great. So I don't know. Uh don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole with the whole stuff with the acolyte, but it is crazy to me. Like I really wonder what George Lucas is thinking. Like of course he's watching the shows. I would be willing to bet money that he's watching to see what Disney comes up with. And then to hear what people are saying about Star Wars, I mean, that probably would break his heart, quite honestly. It probably breaks his heart to watch these shows, but at the same time, to see the fan base that he built up and the people that loved his projects, and now people are saying, I'm out with the Star Wars stuff, that's kind of heartbreaking. But I would also say the ones that are leaving the Disney Star Wars are saying that George Lucas Star Wars is still what Star Wars is, and then Disney is all this extra stuff. But I'm still optimistic about the show. It is not my favorite by any means. But my hope is that by the end of this show, we get some sort of satisfying end to it where we can all kind of just collectively find some sort of common ground and then move on to the next show. Because we don't want to happen to the next Star Wars show what happened with Solo, right? Everybody was divided because of The Last Jedi, and then when Solo came out, everybody just said, I'm not doing that because of what you did with The Last Jedi. I don't want that to happen to Skeleton Crew because I believe that's the next show to be coming out. So
You know what
hopefully
I'm
we
looking
get it
forward
together.
to? I'm looking forward to once the show is completely out and binging it like we did with the Kenobi show because I feel like being able to watch it all the way through and not have those strange cuts in between episodes, I think it's going to enhance the story.
Maybe um we haven't done our talk on the fifth episode yet, but arguably I would say the fifth episode is the only one that's really had my attention. All
I'm
the
not
other
saying it's going
ones,
to fix all our problems, but I think it'll help.
it might help some people. Uh, Also in the movies and TV show category, this one is awesome, and I hope you're excited about this, Sarah. I saw that there's been talks about Andor season two, so hold on a second, because we weren't big fans of Andor season one. But how can we make it better? How can we pull Sarah and Jeremy into season two? They're gonna have some characters from Rogue One making some appearances, and
Yay!
director Krennic is going to be
Woo!
coming back into the Andor show. And so I am super stoked to see, I think you pronounce his name Ben Mendelsohn, maybe. Um,
Okay.
I'm excited to see him come back as Orson Krennic. There's also been speculation that um, Jen's dad might be coming back, and a couple of our other soldier dudes that we lost at the end of Rogue One. So I'm excited to see who comes back, but I know
I watched
Krennic is
all
gonna
of
be.
season one for K2SO to show up, and I don't remember him ever really showing up, at least not in a form that we would recognize him in. So, fingers crossed, we finally get to see him because he was one of my favorites
Well, yeah,
from Rogue
we
One.
we didn't get to see them unite. We saw those types of droids, but I don't think we saw K2SO himself.
No, and I have a feeling it's going to be very similar to Mandalorian, where there was that bounty hunter droid reprogrammed to be like a nanny for Grogu. I have a feeling it's going to be the same thing for Cassian, and maybe that's covered in the books or the comics. I don't know. This is just me theorizing, but I feel like he's going to take one of those security droids and turn it into K2SO, like
Oh yeah.
reprogram it somehow. That's my assumption. But I'm hoping we see that, and I'm hoping we see it early because I don't want these cameos to just be like little 2-minute things at the end of episodes where we barely see anybody. It's so frustrating.
Right. I if that's what they end up doing with Krennic, I will be very disappointed. Um, I kind of want to see Vader in the show just because he was in Rogue One and he's definitely around, right? Um, is he super necessary? No. But between him, Tarkin, Krennic, I think some of these big baddies need to make an appearance, just to show what else they're doing, during the time. So, all right. So that was some of our movies
Oh,
and oh, go ahead.
question for you on that. When you saw that, did you see a release date or like year even?
No, I think the projected is next year, but I believe that's what they said before the writer's strike. So it
Hmm,
might be pushed back even further. So
I gotcha.
fingers crossed it's next year, maybe like around holiday season or something. Like maybe that's their gift to us is Andor season two. Um, but no, not there's no hard dates for sure.
Okay.
Have you ever wondered what Amazon coffins are and what they're full of? Well, we got you covered here on the channel. Check out our playlist of our Amazon coffin unboxings where Sarah and I open up boxes that have Amazon returns and we share with all of you what we get in each of those boxes. If you ever wanted to get into liquidation and want to know what types of things you can find, check us out. Now back to our show. Uh, Moving on to some board game slash card game news. I was super stoked to see this announcement. I kind of wondered if this was gonna happen, but I wasn't quite sure. And if you don't know, there is a game called Star Wars: The Deck Building Game, and it's by Fantasy Flight Games. It has Luke and Vader on the cover, duking it out with lightsabers. And basically, it's a deck building game where you have all the cards that you need. Like, it's not a trading card game where you have to buy packs. All the cards you need are in the game itself. And so we essentially had an original trilogy version, which is the first rendition of it. And now they have the Clone Wars edition coming out. So I'm super stoked to get my hands on that. I did enjoy the original deck building game. And so I'm just curious to see if they have any different spin-off type thing, like new rules to go by. And I think I was reading into it where you can even start mixing the decks, but I don't know. We'll have to see. I know we're gonna pick it up just because I really enjoyed the first one, and I'm very excited to get into that.
Deck building games get a little overwhelming for me just because there's so much pressure to do well from the start. Otherwise, you're doomed through the end. And I do not like losing, as Jeremy knows, and maybe some of you have gathered by now. But we'll see.
Yeah, I will destroy you. Um, so. That's pretty much all we got from like board games and card games. Some reminders is Star Wars Villainous expansion. I believe that's coming out in August, the last I heard. That's the one with Darth Maul and Captain Phasma. I am looking forward to that a lot, and I'm looking forward to sharing it here on the channel. We did show the latest villainous expansion, Sugar and Spite, with King Candy and Shere Khan. Still looking forward to trying that out, and because we saw that there's some uniqueness in that expansion, it makes me wonder what we're going to get out of the Star Wars one. In video game news, Star Wars Hunters dropped this month. And if you've been keeping up with my videos, I did do a video with my first impressions. And I also did a video talking about what I thought after 2 weeks. And so just kind of giving a little recap here so we understand some of that stuff from those other videos. I've been playing the game pretty much every day since I started playing it on day one. Why? Because there's daily logins, there's daily quests. So they have the typical mobile game things that pull you in, right? And I wouldn't say it's necessarily like a huge amount of FOMO because I'm noticing that you could definitely miss a few days and still get, all the stuff from the battle pass for the time period. They call it an arena pass. Um, but what's interesting about the game is that if you buy the arena pass, which is $10, which is, I think that's the same as Fortnite or very similar, you only get one exclusive character. So right now there's like, I don't know, 8 or 9 characters that everybody gets. And then there's a Mandalorian character called Aaron Tall, where if you get the arena pass, you get Aaron Tall. And then there's a whole bunch of other things to be aware of with different types of quests, rewards you can get, all of the above. So I've already kind of talked about my opinion on it with my other videos. Sarah got to try it out a little bit. And by when I mean a little bit, I mean a little bit. But what is your opinion on the game with your little experience that you've had?
I am so sorry for disappointing you, Jeremy. I know you were really excited to play this together, and my work schedule has just been insane lately. So, yes, my experience with this game is pretty limited. Uh, from what I've been able to play, because I was excited to play right away, or I thought I was going to get to play right away, because I think with Fortnite, you get to play with friends like almost immediately. But with this game, you have to play, I don't even remember how many matches.
There's
I
a
want to say it
handful.
was, huh?
There's a handful.
I want to say it's 15, but it might be more like 8. I'm honestly not sure. But either way, you have to play at least that many matches to be able to play with friends. And I got one shy of that mark. So I still haven't even gotten to play with Jeremy. I still am only playing with bots. There's so many screens to keep up with. I'm very lost and very overwhelmed on what's going on. It's making it very intimidating and kind of hard to get into. I feel like with Fortnite, one of the things that really worked for that game is that when I joined or started playing Fortnite, Jeremy's sister had already been playing it for quite a while, and so we started playing with her. This was many, I believe, many years after the game had come out, so it wasn't like a fresh new game at that time. But kind of jumping right in and learning alongside of somebody who already knew how to play, I think helped me get into that game a lot faster. And oh, well, what's this mean? What's that mean? And just kind of learning as you go. Whereas with this game, and part of it might be because it's a new game, but at the same time, Jeremy had already gotten a head start on me, so I feel like that would have helped too. Is if I was able to play alongside him, like right away, or maybe you play like 1 or 2 matches just to learn the controls and then you can play with somebody else, like I think that would have helped my understanding of what's going on or what to look for and being able to take it piece by piece that way as you go instead of having to learn everything all up front. That's kind of my dilemma with this game. That's what's making it really hard for me to get into is I feel like I have to devote not just 10 minutes to play, but like an hour to figure out everything that's going on before I can even play with my friends. And that's disappointing. Um,
There are a ridiculous amount of menus. I will wholeheartedly agree with that. But at the same time, just kind of putting it into perspective, so we haven't played Fortnite in a hot minute. And so I do remember from Fortnite that they had a good handful of tabs too, but I feel like Fortnite's layout was a little bit more comprehensive. Like it was pretty straightforward. Whereas the layout for hunters seems to be kind of all over the place. And there's even times where I don't even know where my cursor's at, like when I'm switching through the menus, just because it could be here, it could be there, it could be anywhere. Dr. Seuss, maybe something. Um, but
Even on that first like home tab, you've got your different tabs at the top, but on that first home page, on that page, there's like four different things that you can click on within there that are not just all straight in a line, but like scattered across the screen.
right.
And it makes, to your point, it makes it hard to know which one you're clicking on because you can't just see like which one of these four items is highlighted because they're scattered. And there's different lighting for the image in the background and whatnot.
I did learn that the Nintendo Switch is touchscreen for those menus, and that helped me a lot because then I don't have to rely on where my cursor is. So just like the phone, like if you play on your mobile device, you can use touch controls for your menus. I would, and I've played both mobile and the Nintendo Switch version on and off because if I'm laying in bed, I'm probably using my phone. If I'm, up and watching TV, I use my Nintendo Switch. So it just really depends on the circumstance. But I've had a fair amount of experience with both. And I feel like they both kind of have their ups and downs. I feel like the mobile version is a little bit easier to shoot other characters because like once somebody is within the like circle of your aim, it just automatically fires on the character. Whereas here, you actually have to aim and then you have to pull the trigger to be able to shoot. Um, but at the same time, on the Nintendo Switch, you have a lot better mobile controls with moving your character, which when I'm playing on my phone, I notice sometimes, like, if your screen is a little oily or your fingers are a little bit sweaty, my fingers tend to slip, and then my character, like, looks up to the sky accidentally. So there's a whole bunch of pros and cons of the two of them. In a way, I feel like the mobile device with the aim assisting is a little bit much, but what can you do?
Yeah, the auto shooting, that's really interesting. I didn't know that had that.
Yeah, you don't there's no button you push to have them shoot. They're like detected enemy basically. So, and that's even the same thing with melee combat too. Like if you use a lightsaber. So it's pretty bizarre to see that all pan out. Um, as far as what I've seen on social media, I've seen pretty positive reactions to the game. I know the game has been out a decent amount overseas in like very small controlled communities just so they can, get some beta testing done and then expand it out to a big country like the United States. But I'm curious to see where the game goes. The game, it right now, I kind of feel like it's not going to have the legs that it needs because the rumor has it when the new Battle Pass comes out or Arena Pass is that there'll be one new character. And then if you use the $10 to get the pass, then you get the one new character and then you can of course play the rest of the Arena Pass. And I don't know if one character is enough for me to stick around.
Are
But
there other microtransactions? Like with Fortnite, you can buy other characters and other skins.
you can buy other skins for the characters you already have,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
So there's not a way to even get more characters through purchasing either.
No, it's just outfits for your characters you already have.
Interesting.
But yeah, you can buy those, which I mean, I've covered a lot of this in my other videos. So if you've seen those, you've heard this already, but that's actually one of my biggest complaints is the shop in the game. And that's because so you can earn two different types of currency in the game. You can earn the gold credits or you can earn the purple shards. And the purple shards are the currency that you can use actual money to purchase. So if you go to the shop and you spend 20 bucks, then you get a certain amount of purple shards and then you can spend those in the shop. Well, the majority of the things in the shop, and I mean the majority, are purple shard purchase. Like one, maybe two things in that shop are for the credits. And I find that kind of suckish because if you don't want to spend a whole bunch of money on the game or you just don't want to put in more than the arena pass like I did, then some of those skins, it's like, well, unless you pay up, you're not going to have it because they rotate out of the shop just like Fortnite. So I don't know. I think they're still trying to figure out what works great and what doesn't, since this is the first official arena pass in the United States. So maybe they'll build off of it. Who knows?
Yeah, I feel like with Fortnite, there were some skins that you had to pay cash for, but the majority you could get with in-game currency that was somewhat easy to get. I mean, you did have to grind for it, but it was obtainable
Right.
or obtainable.
I have not seen any signs of being able to earn currency to pay for the next arena pass like Fortnite does. So,
Ooh, so it's kind of following in the footsteps of where Speedstorm went, the
right.
Disney Speedstorm racing game.
But again, we have not seen season two announced. We have not seen season two talked about. Who knows? Maybe when season two comes out, they'll have an option. I don't know, but we'll find out. And I myself have basically committed to myself to play like two or three seasons. So I get a decent feel for the game. And if after that third season, I'm just like, this ain't for me, then I'll be done. And we'll just move on. But I think it's worth committing for a season or two just to see what kind of things they end up doing and then kind of reevaluating after that. Have you ever wondered what it's like to grow up during the prequel era? Do you wonder what type of merchandise was around then? How different was it than it is now? Check out our videos on this channel where we talk about the merchandise of the Phantom Menace and the merchandise of Attack of the Clones. They are here on this channel. The Phantom Menace is my first video ever on YouTube, so there's a special place in my heart for that one. So please, if any, check that out. Now back to our show. Okay, the last little piece of news that I have for this month, I thought this was really cool. So we kind of like started with the not so great news, and then we've had a lot of cool things since then. Lego announced, and this has been under the rumor mill for quite some time, so maybe it's a surprise to you, maybe it's not. But we are gonna have something called Lego the Dark Falcon. So this is kind of like an alternative what if type Lego set where the Millennium Falcon almost looks like it's been built by the Imperials. So it's going to be a black Falcon and like with different reds and whatnot in there. It is available for pre-order. It is available for $179.99 and it releases August 1st. There are some minifigures in there that are desirable by a lot of people. I thought one that was really cool was Evil Ray or Dark Side Ray from The Rise of Skywalker. But the one that a lot of people are probably looking forward to is Darth Jar Jar. That will be in the Lego set, and I think people are going to absolutely be ecstatic to have that minifigure.
How much do you know? I'm putting you on the spot here with this one. What is this price compared to a regular or comparable Millennium Falcon version?
It's pretty much right on par with like the Rise of Skywalker, Millennium Falcon.
Okay, so it's not like you're having to pay double or some crazy like limited edition type price.
No, it's gonna be like a normal Lego set that you see at like Target and Meijer type deal. Um, it's not one of the like super expensive expert level Lego sets.
Pretty cool. I think we might need to get it.
We might.
Let us
It's unique.
help me convince Jeremy in the comments. Tell him we need this set.
You won't need much convincing. The only convincing will be is I gotta pay for tuition. But yeah, so sounds like we're gonna be getting that Lego set. Maybe, I mean, I'm not gonna make any promises just because we don't know when we'll be getting it, but maybe we can do a live or something with it. That would be kind of fun to see if anybody wants to drop in, see what's going on. We can do some live questions and whatnot, but that could be fun.
Yeah.
Uh, That's pretty much all the Star Wars news that I had for the month. Like I said, a lot of the Star Wars stuff, unfortunately, was clouded by the Acolyte, and I'm really hoping we get some other good stuff um, in
Yeah,
July.
I haven't really seen any new Star Wars news outside of the Acolyte lately either. It seems like anything we've learned recently, either we talked about last month or we're just waiting for them to announce things for other projects like when the next video games come out or the next shows and whatnot. And there just hasn't been any new updates on those that I've seen.
Right. And we will have Outlaws, coming out in August. I am looking forward to that game so much. Um, there were two, I guess we can sneak in this little last piece in terms of video games. There were two re-releases that dropped on the PlayStation Store. If you have the highest tier for PlayStation Plus, like we do, you get it for free. It's included. And they dropped the original Clone Wars game from way back when on the PS2, Xbox, and I think GameCube. And then Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy. So if you want to go back in and play those, they're available right there on the PlayStation. We have been covering the Clone Wars game here on the channel, so you can go ahead and see the gameplay to see if that's the kind of game that you want to get invested to. Um, I have not done Lego Star Wars recordings yet. I might be doing those. We'll see. I did enjoy that game. But that is our news for the month. If you enjoyed this type of video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way you are notified next month when next month's news drops. Drops a like if you like the video and drops a comment letting us know if there was something that happened this month that we didn't cover that you thought was worth noting. And then as always, everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.